अब तुझे कोई भी नहीं बचा सकता। नहीं, ज्यादा जोर से तो नहीं लगी पुलिसवा? अरे पेड़ पर से गिरा हूँ, वो भी बहुत ऊपर से, चोट तो आएगी ही।
मजा आया पुलिस, और मुझे पेड़ पर चढ़कर पकड़ेगा?
मैं तुझे अब छोड़ूंगा नहीं, मैं भी पुलिस हूँ, तुझे तो इंजेक्शन लगा के ही रहूंगा। कितना बदबू आ रहा है तुम्हारे से पुलिसवा? बदबू तो आएगा ही, उस पागल बाबू ने फिर से जो हक दिया है। तो जल्दी जा और वहाँ से नहा के आ, तब तक मैं बुलडोजर लेकर आता हूँ इस पेड़ को गिराने के लिए। ठीक है, जाता हूँ।
चिंकी, हम कब तक यहाँ बैठे रहेंगे? चलो यहाँ से चलते हैं। चिंटू हिलना मत। क्यों नहीं हिलूं मैं? तुम्हारे पास एक गिरगिट है। क्या गिरगिट? किधर है गिरगिट? उधर देख। अब ये कहाँ से आ गया? हिलना मत चिंटू, नहीं तो गिरगिट तुम्हें काट लेगी।
अब वो पागल बाबू बच नहीं पाएगा। आज उसे डेंगू का इंजेक्शन लगा के ही छोड़ेंगे। उसने हमें बहुत परेशान कर लिया है। उसने तो मेरे मुंह पर 2-2 बार हगा है। मैं तो उसे 2-2 बार इंजेक्शन लगाऊंगा।
ये दोनों कितने खेतर हैं? फिर से आ गए।
अबे चल नीचे उतर, नहीं तो देखिए क्या लेकर आए हैं, बुलडोजर। अगर तू इस बार नहीं उतरा तो इस पेड़ को बुलडोजर से गिरा देंगे।
हुई, चल भाग जा यहाँ से। अरे दादा, अरे चिंकिया, ये कमीना गिरगिट तो भाग ही नहीं रहा। अब लगता है ये मुझे काट के ही रहेगा। अरे दादा, ये तो मेरे ऊपर ही चढ़ गया। मैं कह रही हूँ कि हिलना मत, लेकिन तुम हिल रहे हो। मुझे इस गिरगिट से बचा ले चिंकिया, मैं नहीं बचा सकती तुम्हें। अरे ये तो मेरे कपड़े के अंदर घुस गया। अरे निकल जा, मुझे गुदगुदी मत कर।
पुलिस, बुलडोजर के बकेट को उसके पास लेकर चल। अब उसे पेड़ पर ही इंजेक्शन लगाऊंगा। ठीक है, करता हूँ। अब कहाँ बच के जाएगा तू?
अब लग रहा है कि ये मुझे इंजेक्शन लगा के ही रहेगा। अब क्या करूं? चल अब मैं चलाऊंगा।
डॉक्टर, बुलडोजर अब ये चला रहा है, बच के रहना। देख बाबू, मुझे छोड़ दे, मैं तुझे इंजेक्शन नहीं लगाऊंगा। मुझे इस बुलडोजर से मत गिराना।
गिराऊंगा नहीं, उठाऊंगा।
जल्दी नीचे कर, नीचे कर। अगर यहाँ से गिरा तो डे बोल जाऊंगा।
अब ये ले।
अबे इतना जोर जोर से बकेट को मत हिला, मुझे चक्कर आ रहा है।
ये तो हमारा पीछा ही नहीं छोड़ रहा। अब क्या करे चिंटू? करना क्या है, भागती रहो, नहीं तो ये काट लेगा। अरे हम भाग क्यों रहे हैं? गिरगिट से डर कर भाग रहे हैं। रुको और पीछे देखो अपनी। लगता है वो गिरगिट भाग गई। हम तो ऐसे ही भाग रहे थे। चिंटू, वो गिरगिट कहीं नहीं गई है, वो यहीं पे है। ये क्या बोल रही हो चिंकी? देखो वो गिरगिट कहीं नहीं दिख रही है। वो गिरगिट इसलिए नहीं दिख रही है क्योंकि वो तुम्हारे ऊपर बैठी है। क्या? अपने ऊपर देखो। अरे चिंकी, मुझे यहाँ अकेला छोड़कर मत जाओ।
The night the 4 Brahmins decided to leave their village, the moon hung low and red, as if it too sensed that something irreversible was about to begin. For years they had lived side by side, chanting the same prayers, studying the same scriptures, eating from the same hearths, yet each carried a quiet hunger that no ritual had ever satisfied. One was learned beyond measure but poor as dust, Another wealthy yet restless. The third gentle and kind but mocked for his simplicity. And the fourth sharp-tongued, proud, and endlessly dissatisfied. On that night, a single question burned between them like a hidden flame. What is the true power of knowledge if it cannot change our fate? That question became the hook that pulled them from safety into uncertainty. And once they stepped onto the road, none of them could turn back. They walked through forests that whispered old warnings and across rivers that reflected their doubts back at them. The first Brahmin, Devdatta, recited verses flawlessly, yet his stomach growled louder than his wisdom. He believed knowledge alone could conquer destiny. The second, Somesh, had inherited gold but not peace. He feared that wealth without purpose was a curse. The third, Madhav, believed in compassion more than logic, trusting people even when they betrayed him. The fourth, Rudra, believed only in himself, convinced that cleverness was the highest virtue of all. As days turned into weeks, hunger sharpened their differences. Arguments flared under the sun and froze into silence at night. Still, the road kept them bound together, because each secretly believed the others were necessary to reach something greater. One evening, deep in a forgotten jungle, they found scattered bones bleached white by time. Devdatta's eyes shone with excitement instead of fear. He declared that with their combined knowledge, they could restore life itself and prove their mastery over the universe. Somesh hesitated, sensing danger, while Madhav worried about disturbing what was meant to rest. Rudra laughed, mocking their doubts, calling fear the enemy of greatness. One by one, they chanted sacred verses, fitting bone to bone, muscle to muscle, skin to skin, until a powerful creature stood before them, breathing heavily in the darkness. At the last moment, Madhav cried out a warning, realizing too late that wisdom without discernment was blind. The beast roared, and chaos erupted. In a heartbeat, 3 of the Brahmins were crushed under the weight of their own arrogance. Only Madhav survived, having climbed a tree moments before life was restored. As dawn broke, Madhav looked down at the still forest, his heart heavy with grief and realization. Knowledge had given them power, but humility could have given them life. He returned to the village alone, not as a conqueror, but as a witness to truth. He shared the story, not to boast, but to warn. The hook that began with ambition ended with loss, binding listeners to his words until the final breath of the tale, because everyone saw a piece of themselves in those 4 men. The village never forgot, and neither did Madhav. Yet the story did not end there, because understanding is not complete until it is tested again. Years later, the same village faced a devastating drought. Crops failed, children cried from hunger, and prayers echoed unanswered into empty skies. Madhav, now older, felt the weight of leadership settle upon him. Memories of the forest returned like shadows, but this time he chose a different path. He gathered the villagers, not to show his wisdom, but to listen. Together, they combined learning with experience, faith with patience, courage with caution. They dug deeper wells, shared what little they had, and refused to abandon one another. Slowly, clouds gathered, rain fell, and life returned to the cracked earth. The second hook, quieter but stronger, lay in this transformation. The same knowledge that once destroyed could now save, when guided by empathy and restraint. Madhav often spoke of the 3 friends he lost, honoring them by teaching others that intelligence without kindness is dangerous, and belief without understanding is empty. The story of the 4 Brahmins became more than a cautionary tale. It became a mirror held up to every generation, asking them what they value more, power or wisdom, pride or compassion. By the end, the message settled gently but firmly in the hearts of all who heard it. True greatness does not come from proving how much you know, but from knowing when to stop, when to listen, and when to care. And that is why the story of the 4 Brahmins continues to hold its grip until the very last word, because long after the tale ends, its question still walks beside us, waiting for our answer.